Hello there. I thought I would show you a video, something pretty cool. There's been lots of discussions related to error handling. Like what we basically want to do is to stop execution. Like sometimes it doesn't make sense to continue execution, so we basically want to abort it. But like stopping an execution, is that really an error, or is it that you just want to stop and do something else? And this is like, it's very hard to talk about this because there are some very concrete concepts about errors, and then we have the risk of errors being swallowed, and how do we handle that? But like other solutions, when you want to stop execution, you throw an error. So it's really important that we try to be as similar as those other solutions, at least at a low level, like function tree. But then we can add some other error handling in Cerebral. But anyways, I want to show you this because when I click check notification in our application now, I get an error. So when I look at the debugger now, I can see that I clicked like trigger the signal notifications menu clicked, it does some state mutations, and then it runs the Firebase task of check notifications. And then we can see that server-side execution here, blah, blah, blah. And then one of the actions has an error. And we can see the error and where it happened, blah, blah, blah. But what's really cool now is that, first of all, this is actually on the server. So we don't only see errors on the client, we see the errors on the server as well. But we can also see what the server did with that error. And what it did was to run an execution called task errored, which rejects the task. And then we see the execution stopped. It didn't do anything more here. And then we can see that the client errored. And that's why we got the pop-up. Now, this isn't because I'm doing like an error approach that we can do this. We could do this with this abort suggestion as well. But now I was investigating this and I need to fix this in the debugger as well. But I thought it would be really cool to show you that we can actually trigger something on the client, show the execution on the server. We can see that something goes wrong on the server, and we can even see what does the server do with an error, which is pretty awesome. Cool. Yes, so the way this works now in code is that this is our function tree that we call it the task runner. So it runs tasks. So it has some providers related to that. And then we listen to errors. And currently I'm kind of like hard coding that that when something fails, it will kind of like add the details needed for the debugger to understand that this new run task here was related to the previous execution. So this will be abstracted away. So basically you would do something like, let's see, let me comment that down. So you would do this and you would say error.payload. That's what you would do. But the point is, like on the server, using function tree, you have very specific function tree executions. Like in our case, we have task runner. And we always want to do the same thing when the error throws or some error occurs, like we want to reject the task. But in Cerebral world, we have a bunch of different executions and we want to do different things. So that's a different story. But for function tree, I do believe it's better to adjust to like the common thing, like promises and observables, that if you want to stop execution, you just throw. We don't sprinkle fairy dust and create a new concept for doing this. And then in Cerebral world, we can give it its own error handler that fits better with like the environment of Cerebral where you have so many different kinds of executions. Cool. But the point here was just to show you how, like, what we're moving towards, which is really, really awesome. And I'm still thinking about this and playing around with it. But I do think this is the right abstraction for function tree, and then I will give a suggestion on how we can handle errors in Cerebral based on all the discussions, and make sure that we do implement something really good, but it might not be exactly the fairy dust suggested previously. Okay, awesome. Thanks for listening, and enjoy your day.